Somehow, some way, the last Ohio State home game of the season has arrived. It is Saturday. It's senior day. It's against Rutgers. It's at noon. But that's for the end of the week. Today, it's Talking Tuesday. It says so right there. That's television's Adam King of 10 TV. That's how I've decided to work around it. Okay. So I'm not going to go back to back.
Okay.
Television's 10 TV's Adam King didn't work.
No, it did not.
It's taken me all year.
The amount of people, just so we're clear, that refer to me as television's Adam King makes it makes my day every time somebody does it because it's absolutely hilarious.
It warms my heart.
I'm going to start taking notes as to where, like putting a pin in a map as to where people, all the way to Seattle to, it's been just ridiculous.
I'm glad because that also means that people are watching Talking Tuesday.
It's because you're pretty good at your job.
I think it's because you're great at your job.
Hey, thanks.
And you've got questions for Ryan Day.
I do.
And he will answer them on a Tuesday in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center in the team meeting room. We're running out of regular season opportunities here.
It is insane. I don't like cliches, but I said on
love them.
You do?
Yeah.
What's your favorite cliche? That's my question for Ryan Day.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it's a good cliche. I don't like cliches, but it really has flown by. Like, it's kind of crazy that the season is to this point. My first question for Ryan Day, we went the whole last press conference and we didn't talk about Carnell. People got upset that nobody asked about Carnell. I think that's because we all knew the answer we were going to get.
You're talking about the Wednesday press conference?
Yes, yeah.
Well, he had asked, all right, let me explain it first.
Okay.
It's
not explaining Tuesday.
I know, but if I understand, and people ask me, like, why didn't you ask about it? Because I asked about lead blocking.
And I asked about Julian Say.
We would rather know about Carnell Tate. And I absolutely understand. All right, for me, I'm explaining why I didn't ask it on Wednesday. He said no update on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He was going to say no update on Wednesday. And I said the whole time, it's like, you're not going to know until the practice week is over and then you get to Saturday. And you could say you should still ask about it anyway. And I'd say that you're entitled to that opinion, and I don't disagree with it. We would have to agree to disagree that I didn't feel personally like I should waste my one opportunity on a Wednesday in the lightning round to ask a question that I already knew the answer to.
That's a good way to put it. You're wasting a question. He has never been one to talk about this. I mean, if this was like the first time ever, yes, we'd ask, but we played this game with so many different people throughout, the years. We know that he's not going to address injuries. Now, if there's nothing there, sometimes he'll say it, but he said no comment, which means, all right, we got nothing there. With that, I do have a question about injuries. And it is not in particular, because you make it particular, he may not, answer it. So
General injury question.
General injury question. Mr. Day, what is the benefit of playing people that may be sore in the game against Rutgers? And is it necessary? And listen, this isn't the NBA. We're not doing load management.
They are doing load management.
But we're not. Yes. But I understand.
Sorry to rattle you, but that's actually happening.
That is what I thought was Jeremiah and Carnell. I am surprised that Jeremiah even played against. I mean, why put him on the questionable report if you're not going to, but
I thought that was just preparing us for the eventuality that he wasn't
not going to play. With that said, the question that a lot of people have is just rest him, just put him down. Like don't sit him on the bench.
Sit him down. Don't put him down.
Sit him down on the bench. Don't let them play. And so I want to take it to the head honcho, and I want to know in his eyes. And I'm sure it has something to do with timing. It has something to do with not being rusty going into Michigan.
Yep.
But to be fair, there are a lot of times they get excited about coming out of bye weeks, going into big games.
Right.
So what is the benefit here? If you are, playing those guys, what is going through your mind that says, I need to get them in this game to make sure that they're ready for the next game?
Yeah, especially because if I'm going to narrow the focus from your general injury question, Carnell will have missed 3 games if he doesn't play against Rutgers. And we don't know.
Mine was general.
Yeah, I know.
You start narrowing, he's going to say nothing.
I know. I understand. But what he says about that, I think will be whatever he says to your question, if in fact you ask it.
I might not.
You might not. Somebody else might.
Yeah, that's right.
I think whatever he would say to a general question like that, we would have to apply specifically to Carnell Tate because it's the highest profile example of that on this roster right now, because Jeremiah Smith was questionable but played. And he said that was a pitch count. It's hard to imagine that what he did on Saturday would have made it worse or lowered his likelihood of playing against Rutgers. Now, does he need to play all of that game on Saturday, Jeremiah Smith? No. But I do think that there is a question of how much would maybe you like to see from Carnell. And that's assuming that he has a good Bloody Tuesday practice, that he has a good Wednesday, that there's still progress from that injury, which, again, we believe that is a muscle strain issue, a lower leg injury that he's dealing with. Not a long-term thing. Ryan Day has said that multiple times. You and I have both talked to dozens of people inside the program that they all believe that Carnell Tate will be back soon. We cannot guarantee that that's not Saturday. We can't guarantee it's Saturday.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I thought that Carnell Tate declared for the NFL draft. That's what I was told by Twitter.
If that's true, I haven't been able to confirm that.
Yeah, it's weird Carnell Tate continues to want to play football, but everybody keeps telling him he's going to the NFL.
Well, he is going to go to
That's
the NFL,
right.
but I don't think he's quite there yet.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not saying that to diminish anyone else's reporting, if that's what's happening, anyone's skepticism that there's a Jackson Smith and Jigba situation transpiring. All I'm doing is saying right now that that's not the way Ohio State views it. They are confident that he will be returning. Does he need to play against Rutgers to be prepared for the following week in the Big House? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, and how much does Ryan Day want to do that? If let's say he's 85 to 90%, is there benefit to giving Carnell 10 to 15 reps? Or is the fact that he took a similar approach with Jackson Smith and Jigba and they were going to work him back into it, and that re-aggravated his injury? Now, that's several years ago, but that was the worst case example of trying to work a wide receiver back from an injury that is not the same. My understanding is that they're different injuries, but they tried to ease Jackson back in there, work through a pitch count, a snap count, and that didn't work. So is it an all or nothing proposition if we're talking about Carnell specifically?
You said, and you were very, very politician-esque there with you didn't want to dispel any reporting, which I don't know that I've seen any reporting that says Carnell's sitting out the season.
Yeah.
Some actual reporting. I will personally say that I think the skepticism is not accurate. Maybe it's because, and I get this, Buckeye fans have been here before. And
I understand.
Past pain can lead to current skepticism. It's not just Jackson Smith and Jigba. Nick Bosa comes. I mean, it's happened so many times where you have this star player in his prime moment ready to go, and he gets hurt and you never see him again.
Yeah.
I do not think in any way that is happening here. From what we've talked with Ohio State about, and also just the way that Carnell is around. Like, for instance, very simple thing, but when Ohio State was dealing with the Jackson Smith and Jigba thing, Jackson never went to skull session. He never really, he was dealing with a real injury. That wasn't him, skirting, but they were working through that long term. There was never a thought he could play. Carnell has very much been with the team. He traveled to Purdue.
Went through warm-ups.
He went through warm-ups with Purdue. He's right there on the sideline. I am not worried about Carnell. I think Carnell is probably a good question. He really is the centerpiece of my question is, do you really think that having a first-round top 5 pick miss a month of the season, if he comes back in that first play against Michigan, do you think there is rust? And they very well could say yes, and that's why we want to get him in, even if it's 1 drive, 2 drives against Rutgers. With all that said, my next question for Ryan Day is, it involves Julian and not having those guys. And how helpful can that be? I mean, Julian Sayin has the 2 best receivers in the country helping him through his development. But on Saturday, we got to see Julian Sayin with young guys all around him. I'm sure, I have no doubt that those guys walked into the huddle and he said, I got to be the ultimate leader. I have to take that next step now because Carnell's not here. Jeremiah's not here. Brandon is obviously a great vocal leader, and you have a lot of great leaders like Austin Sarabelt on the line.
Yep.
But that's a huge different step where you have to command Bryson Rodgers. You have to command with Mylan Graham. This is the plan. This is how we're going. And so I'm curious if he saw that from Julian, especially there kind of after the first quarter.
Yeah, that's a great point because I think it applies not just to, is Julian Sayin going to be as good without Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, which was the other question that was happening last week. It was 25 other quarterbacks could be leading Ohio State to a perfect record. I'm not sure that that's the case. I don't know that number is accurate, but I also can't prove it or disprove it. There's no way to do that.
It doesn't seem accurate. You can disprove it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right to me. But there was that question, so that's the on-field component. The accuracy was still pretty darn good.
Pretty good.
The composure in the pocket, still pretty good. The ability to extend a play and then have Bryson Rodgers show that he could work back on a scramble drill. All that stuff was really good. So that's the on-field component of like X's and O's and playing the quarterback position. The leadership piece, I hadn't really even considered that, Adam. I think it's a good point because Ryan Day's talked so much when we have been hyper-focused on the methodical pace of play. He's talked about them huddling up and the value that provides. Well, the quarterback, that's the voice in there. And, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate provide some of that. Neither one of them are the most vocal guys that you're going to find. So maybe removing that from the equation isn't a huge deal, but they played a ton of football, which is not the case for Bryson Rogers or Mylan Graham or Quincy Porter. And again, that goes back to what we talked about in August. It's like command of the huddle, composure, and communication. Like, those were the things that Ryan Day was wanting Julian Sayin to do to take the job and win it officially and definitively. And now he's only going to be starting his 11th game on Saturday.
Crazy.
But I think you can watch him from week to week or even like press conference to press conference and see how far he's come in that regard.
I think it's interesting because you're right. I mean, Carnell and Jeremiah, neither are incredibly vocal leaders, but they are incredibly talented individuals who are very much, workmanlike. Ryan used that word. They're very workmanlike. So I can't imagine in that huddle, he has to say anything. Like, they're probably all just like, all right, yeah, we know. Okay, yeah, we did this 85 times. Let's go. But when you have guys, like I remember last year when Seth McLaughlin went down. Mm-hmm. And it was on to the next offensive lineman. I mean, I feel like it was 8 different times with the next offensive lineman. And I remember asking Will, like, what did you say to those guys? Like, because that's such a new, like, I don't care who you are. And we could pretend like these guys are, absolutely, nothing phases them. When you're thrown in a situation like that and you have to go not a situation where your team is up by 40 and, hey, let's go get some reps in. This is a football game that I now have to go out there and be ready to go from the start. I could cost my team. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders. Will Howard said, he was like, I went up to a couple of those guys and I said, hey, you got this. You've done it every day in practice. He went up to other ones and he said, you're good. You know what you're doing. So I'm wondering, what is that like for Julian? Does it give Julian a little extra bump? Because now, it's a crazy thing to say, but when you're in that huddle, you're the veteran.
Yeah.
You are the vet.
He has to play that way.
And that's, I mean, you're looking to your right. You've got Bo Jackson, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter. I mean, if Brandon Ennis is your other veteran, but
he's still only played 10 games now with Max Clare.
Yeah.
So there's not a huge body of work for him. Max Clare's played a lot of Big Ten football, but 10 games at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that is still new. And it is also why I continue to be so impressed about the way that this team has matured in such a hurry, because we just treat Julian like he's a veteran, and we expect that he can go do all the things that you just described, and he's not going to miss a beat, and he didn't miss a beat on Saturday. But all of these players have had opportunities where they had to go in and step in for somebody right now. There's no time to wait. Ohio State's 10-0, and it's because these guys have taken those chances and not looked like they were overwhelmed by any of those moments.
My other question for Ryan, going to the running backs, and I don't know how much he would tell me, and I don't know if the conversations have been happening, but I would love to know the conversations between Ryan Day and James Peoples. Because I think we can go back on this podcast a month, 2 months, where we were talking about maybe it's just not going to work because things, and James will tell you, things weren't trending in the right direction. So to see him go out there and get his moment this season,
what a moment.
I mean, listen, if you're going to frame something from this season, that's certainly up there. Maybe Jeremiah also just one-handing a ball. But those conversations, I feel like, are how you build a championship team. And so I was almost more impressed with Carlos Loughlin and Ryan Day for having a guy still bought in that moment, because you can lose.
Yep.
A guy comes in thinking he's RB1. This is my not that he thought he was given it, but it's where we were. He was the most veteran player on this roster as a sophomore. I got to lead the charge.
Yep.
And by the Penn State game, Bo Jackson is leading the charge. C.J. Donaldson scoring the touchdowns. Everyone's talking about Isaiah West, and James Peoples is looking around going, what just happened? And now you get into that game, and I think it has absolutely fired that man up. And it's not just, yes, he scored 2 touchdowns last week, but the week before, he looked great at Purdue. He's just running with a different spark.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was a conversation had saying, we need you to step up, to stay with it, keep working.
Yeah, I think there has to be. And you reflected on James Peoples there in the conversation a month ago or 2 months ago. I remember talking Tuesday, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. It was like, well, what do you do with these running backs? They all bring something to the table. You've seen James Peoples get involved as a threat for the passing game out of the backfield. You know that C.J. Donaldson can do in the red zone. Here comes Isaiah West, just a violent runner. Here's Bo Jackson doing everything that you could ask. Like, can all four of them play? And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. There aren't enough snaps to go around. You're going to disrupt the rhythm of the offense. Let some of these guys grow and focus on them. And now I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of like the best case scenario that you've got because they are still playing all four. They're starting to play more snaps per game. They're going to play at a faster tempo once they get probably into the big house and beyond. And it's like, oh, all those things that we talked about, the positive traits, the skill sets that they have that are unique. Carlos Lachlan and Ryan Day and Brian Hartline and Tyler Bowen and on down the list have all found a way to actually tap into that and unleash it. And for people specifically, while that conversation a month ago was occurring, can be like, you know what? Forget this.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I was supposed to be the guy. Now, why am I not the guy? I'm older. I've got the veteran experience over these freshmen. I'm not doing anything that poorly. Like, give me the chance. And he could have tapped out, but Locke kept him engaged. And I'd love to be able to talk. I don't know if the conversation is from Ryan Day to James Peoples or if it's more from Locke. Like, I'd love to.
Yeah.
And Locke will coach everybody hard. Yeah. He doesn't hide that part. Like, I bet that those were really interesting conversations.
My next question, and it's still on the running backs.
Is it a lie detector question? Because we haven't had one yet.
I don't need a lie detector yet. I feel like we might have to ask a lie detector about the injury question to get him to give a real answer. Like, what is the benefit to playing him against Rutgers?
I think we'd have to give him something stronger before he breaks down on the injury report.
Yeah. I guess it's not even a question. I just go building off of your statement. The running back room, and don't take offense to this, Buckeye fans, but it almost reminds me sometimes, if you ever watch a Georgia game from like the last, previous like 8 years, it felt like you would hear in the middle of the game, like, Georgia just lost their starting running back. And then like 3 different guys would come in. And then like by the end of the year, they'd be like, well, these are all, they have like 9 guys just ready to go at Georgia and running back, and they just rotate them all. I mean, it felt like that for the longest time when they were dominating. Ohio State, obviously, we've never really dealt with this scenario. Typically, it's a dual back system with that third guy that you're always like, hey, that guy's going to have a good future. Now it's like, well, next one in.
Yeah.
Which is great when you're busting off long runs and you need somebody to come in and.
It's starting to happen.
Yeah, it is.
Feel free to break one.
Yeah.
Right?
You're allowed to score. I know you want to share the wealth, but just keep getting down there and they're like, all right, next guy, you can have the score. So we talked a lot about offense. I want to look at defense.
Okay.
I want to talk, this feels like a May question, but I think it's most prominent right now because of what we saw against UCLA. I want to talk about Devin Sanchez because this is almost a James Peoples thing. There are a lot of people that have been down on Devin Sanchez. And it's not his fault.
He's a true freshman.
He's a true freshman, and everybody wanted him to come in as this absolute...
thanks a lot, Berm.
Yeah. Oh, was that Berm?
The Jeremiah Smith of corners.
Berm? He's a freshman. He had not played a snap, Berm. And now, because he's not Jeremiah Smith right now, everyone's like, well, this guy's terrible. I want to know how you... And I know that Devin Sanchez is a strong guy, and I know that Devin Sanchez is going to be a first-round pick when this is all said and done. He might be the Jeremiah Smith when this is all said and done. And so... He might be the Devin Sanchez when this is all said and done.
I think we've got to help ourselves by not comparing anyone to Jeremiah Smith.
That's correct. The man is ridiculous.
Because that's not normal.
Julian Sayin is the Jeremiah Smith of quarterbacks.
Well, okay, we've already done it.
So, but with all of that said, this is a really, really pivotal time for a lot of guys. And that window is going to fade quickly when we get to Ann Arbor and beyond. But that doesn't mean that these guys are not going to be needed. And there's a world, I think, right now, especially with someone like Devin Sanchez. And that just jumps out because obviously he got caught, gives up the touchdown. That's frustrating. But it feels like right now, if you're Coach Walt, if you're Guerreri, if you're Matt Patricia, you have an opportunity to take this guy and build on that as opposed to letting you get frustrated and then saying, all right, this is a project for March. So my question for Ryan Day is, how do you do that right now and not let it be a thing where, because we often talk in these games like, well, we'll talk about this next April with the spring game. Like, you want that guy playing meaningful snaps in the middle of January.
That's critical.
Yeah.
Ohio State could play 6 more games.
That is crazy.
We are at the end of the last regular season home game in the Horseshoe is on Saturday, and then you have the game.
You know what's crazy is technically, couldn't they play 7 more games?
They could.
I don't think they will. I'm just saying that's just an insane concept too.
Yeah, we can get to the CFP rankings and all that later on, but like based on the way that they handled it last year with not moving up teams that don't play,
you can't move down teams.
If Ohio State and Indiana are 1 and 2, I think you can't make either one of them go play in the first round game. But that's
no, I'm with you. That's sidebar.
That's for down the road. It is possible.
That's crazy
that they could play 7. I think it's more likely that it's 6.
Yeah.
But either way, that's a lot of football, and that's a lot of opportunity, and there's no wood around. We've already seen Lorenzo Styles deal with an injury, and what was Ohio State's solution? Jermaine Matthews inside of the slot, playing nickel, and Devin Sanchez off the bench. If Jermaine or IGB had to deal with anything, okay? Devin Sanchez is the next one in. So that's important. Those reps aren't just for the future. They're going to be meaningful by next year. I promise you that. But they could be meaningful by a week from Saturday or a month from now. You have to work through the learning moments, the growing pains. That's how you get better. And Ohio State has not shied away from doing that with Devin Sanchez. And you're going to get beat, even when you are a veteran corner, like Davison Igbinosun or Jermaine Matthews or Denzel Burke a year ago, or 10 years ago if it's Garyon Conley or Eli Apple. They all get beat. That's what happens when you play corner.
This is the beat.
That's right. But this is the kind of beat that you want.
Yeah.
You don't want it if you're a corner and you lose a rep. And those happen. No one is going to win 100% of them. It's impossible. It's never happened. Even Jeremiah Smith has dropped a football. If we're going to
his very first one,
include that conversation with Devin Sanchez. So that part is important to keep in mind, that Ohio State continues to trust and believe in his athleticism and his ability, and they're giving him these opportunities for a reason. It's so that if it becomes a necessity, he is more prepared to handle them than he was on Saturday or 2 months ago against Texas or anything else. He's going to get better. And there's no one in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center who's like, you know what? That was horrible against UCLA.
No.
We're done with Devin Sanchez. No, not happening.
I just, when I think about the position he plays, it's such a position where, aside from getting a turnover or like an amazing play, you're only really talked about when things go wrong.
Right.
And that can be so tough on a young guy, especially, having the critical play that scored a touchdown, I think is going to eat at him. And I'm curious, what is the conversation there to make sure that he understands it is perfectly fine to make a mistake. It's almost, this sounds terrible, and I'm not being disrespectful to UCLA. It's the idea of you'd rather make a mistake in practice. Hey, if that's going to happen, let it happen with UCLA scoring when it doesn't matter. Let it happen so UCLA can go kick a field goal so that they score 10 points instead of 7. But I do think he has to be involved, as you said, in these next 6 games, and I hope that he is not letting. Obviously, these guys don't listen to everything else, but you can't let.
They listen to you.
I don't think so. I don't think they're listening to the beat.
Oh.
And if they are, thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. They don't call me Television's Adam King, so.
Well, that's because you have the mic flag when you're out there after the game and it says 10 TV right on it.
That's right. They're like, he works for 10 TV.
You should just cover up the 10, and then they would say, that's television.
Television. I like it. My last other question is...
Lie detector?
Okay, what's a good lie detector for Ryan Day? All right, here's the lie detector. This is the ultimate lie detector. Ryan, you have one game because he won't.
Oh, I like where this is going.
You have one game to get ready. And then it's it. We're here. We made it. Lie detector. What are you worried about? Like what? Like I know that like he'll say like, hey.
The issues are always there, Adam.
Yeah, the issues are always there. And we got a lot of things. I'm not satisfied with anything. What are you freaking out about when you, and maybe even a matchup component, not just like, oh, my team needs to get better at this. Like when you're watching the Wolverines, what are you thinking about? And where is that worry? Where's the thing that jumps out? For me, I don't know how to explain it, but so I watched the whole Northwestern game.
What a football game it was.
It was a beautiful game. Beautiful. I don't have Michigan defense they're good. Like they're
not as good as last
No,
year.
and so that's funny. That's exactly what I was going to say. They don't jump out to me in that way. The Michigan offense, I don't think you should be paying Bryce Underwood that much right now.
I can see how you got confused. I believe Gus Johnson called him that.
Yes, did he? That's funny. I don't see it right now. So it didn't worry me as much as I thought it would by this point in the season.
Yeah.
But it's just that game. And so two lie detectors back to back. How much are you working on it? How much are you because when they hit halftime of the Rutgers game, if everything goes according to plan, it should be Michigan week. When they hit, it should be game on, let's go. And maybe this is something he admits, when we get to May and say like, hey, how much did you incorporate that in?
Yeah.
But I have to imagine they are taking the opportunity to really lean into this game and prepare. I would think scout team wise too. Just go. I know
it's close enough at this point, and you're 30-point favorites against Rutgers. I would almost be surprised if there weren't periods, or at least a period mixed in on Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I would be surprised. Now, maybe that would go against nameless, faceless opponents and 1 week at a time, Ryan Day. But also, that game's different.
It is. And I'm going to ask, can I ask you a question?
Do it.
I have not been shy about this. I have leaned on the proponent of make that game just like any other game. Get rid of the M's on campus. Mm-hmm. Get rid of the countdown clock. At least until you get it back. Until you can get, because right now all it feels like is a mental hurdle. You know you're the better team. You know you're more talented. You know that if they had any other color, and I'm not saying Ryan Day, I'm just saying as a program, fan base, everything. Like when we think about that game, it's just a weird hurdle right now.
Yeah.
Are you okay with so right now you're drawing up the game plan. You're sitting in the Woody and I say to you, all right, you got option A, option B. Option A is we know we're going to beat Rutgers handedly.
Yeah.
We can go full bore in making this game everything. Option B is all season long, we have focused on ourselves and we have said it's not about the opponent, it's about us. We continue to treat it exactly the same all the way until kickoff.
Yeah,
There is no option A point one.
I understand. I want to tweak option B. I'm not trying to split in half. I'm just saying you don't have to focus on, you don't have to turn up it's time for war right now, and you don't have to talk about the countdown clock or the history of the series or playing for gold pants. But that game is going to decide if you go play for the Big Ten championship or not. It is a more important game because of the actual stakes that apply to the goal that Ohio State wants of winning a Big Ten championship. I know that there are rivalry goals attached to that, but Rutgers is not going to keep Ohio State from accomplishing what it wants. Yeah. Period. They can do whatever they want. If you want to institute some parts of the game plan or your practice preparation this week that applies to November 29th, I would be inclined to do that. You don't even have to say it. You don't have to say we're talking about team up north periods right now, or this applies to Bryce Underwood, or this applies to Jordan Marshall. You don't have to say that. But you can start doing the things that you think apply, because I know for an absolute fact that the advanced scouting members of the staff, quality control people are looking at the Wolverines already and have been doing that already. So you can pick and choose some of that stuff to prepare for a week from now without treating Rutgers any differently than you have every week. Now, it'll be a subtle change. It is some change, but you don't have to address why.
I agree.
It doesn't answer your question about if I would continue to block out the M's or...
Yeah, but
I think in terms of actually preparing the team for this week, you can do that and get ready for the Wolverines without even treating it like, well, Rutgers is done.
And we'll dive into this more next week, obviously.
I can't wait.
But after watching Michigan, I don't see how they beat this team unless this team beats itself.
Well, that's what they did last year. What a fun way to end the beat talking
No,
Tuesday.
I mean, it's exciting. It's not, no, hold on. It's exciting because
I am excited for it, but you said There's no way unless they beat themselves. And like, we all saw them do that last year.
But I think that is okay. Now, hold on. I think that is helpful in retrospect, because I know for a fact we have all seen the different Ryan Day. The man had a meeting, and ever since then, they figured out everything they need to figure out. So I don't see a world where they beat themselves. I'm just saying on paper, like, it's just such a disparity in my eyes. So lock in,
Lock in on Rutgers. And senior day.
Yeah.
Because we got to get through that one.
That's right.
And,
is that Saturday?
It is Saturday.
Oh, it's noon.
Senior day, yeah. It's at noon. So be there early and give a send-off to, because I know there will be a tear in the eye of Adam King when the Stiles brothers are out there for the last time in the horseshoe. So
they're good men.
We'll have a lot more to talk about for those seniors and for Ohio State, of course, all week long on the beat. This, though, has been Talkin' Tuesday with television's Adam King of 10 TV fame. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch you again later on Tuesday, Ryan Day's press conference. We'll have snap judgments with me and Berm and so much more as we get closer to this hugely anticipated matchup with Rutgers. We'll talk to you later.